Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another installment of Pod Gaming's Blake or No! Alright folks, here are the rules. Each episode, your hosts Marshall and Shawn will discuss a certain aspect of video gaming. Each host will present their case for whether or not the trope is a good idea. Take it away, Marshall and Shawn!
Welcome back to the next episode of Philosophy of Gaming. I'm Marshall, this is Shawn, and today we're talking about microtransactions or no.
It is sure to be a heated topic, I can imagine.
I agree, especially a point of contention for a lot of gamers. So
Yeah.
Let's dive right in.
Yeah, so speaking of point of contention, you and I have talked off camera. We know where we stand on it, but we don't know what our arguments are going to be.
Yeah.
I know that you're adamantly against it, and I'm for it. But I think I have a prediction.
Okay.
For the first time in Blank or No history, I think that our starting opinions are going to change, because I think I have an argument by the end of this that might make you change your mind in favor of microtransactions. Even though I know how against it you are, I think I have a good argument. But I'm going to save that for later down the debate.
Well, let's get started. Why? Why do you think that they are good?
So let's kind of go through some of the arguments that are some of the more obvious ones, right?
Sure.
I think for the point of this making sense, why don't you start off with why you don't like it?
Okay. So there are a couple different kinds of microtransactions in
Yes.
games. And I think that that's where I will differ. Like when you can buy an item that does not assist you to play the game, I'm fine with that. They got to make money. They sell in-store items or in-shop items, whatever, in-game that you can use that won't change it. For example, in World of Warcraft, you can get a mount. The mount doesn't help you. You already have a mount. It doesn't do anything different.
So you're talking about more or less the kind of the cosmetic sort of microtransactions.
Yes.
Somebody's fabulous!
Cosmetic microtransactions, I'm totally fine with. I don't think that it's very smart to spend your money on them, but people do, and that's why it works.
Why do you think they do? So, for example, you have a game like Fortnite or Rocket League. I mean, those are both epic games, but their microtransactions are holistically cosmetic.
I think they do it because they care that much about the game. And as much as I will say that I don't think that it's worth spending money on, I will at least concede that if you spend a lot of your time playing the game, it's no different than investing in something that you don't need, which there are a lot of those things. I mean, we invest in a lot of games and consoles that we don't need right here, and we don't even use regularly. I mean, we've got a whole wall, and we don't use all of them. They're here. We've had them. We've used them at points, but we don't use them all the time. So in a sense, they are cosmetic microtransactions outside of a game because they're not being used.
Yeah. No, it's kind of funny with the cosmetic microtransactions. I actually think I dislike those more than you do, even though I'm in favor of microtransactions in general.
Because I don't dislike them.
I know, but as far as the cosmetics
I'm
goes,
not gonna buy them.
I think the reason why, and again, I leave it to me to make a philosophical point, philosophy of gaming.
Well, duh.
But I think that the reason why people do those sort of cosmetic ones is that they're trying to find a way to express their individuality throughout a game.
Sure.
They're trying to customize themselves, their avatar, as they put themselves out there into the internet amongst other players to try to stand out in a way.
Okay.
Like if you're playing Fortnite and you get killed by somebody who has a Morty skin from Rick and Morty, because that's the thing that Fortnite does.
You might remember
You think hey, I got killed by Morty or something. I think that that's the thing that appeals to people.
Morty.
And I think that there's a little bit of a kind of a character flaw there. With that said, I'm totally guilty of it.
Of course you are.
Especially in Fortnite. Like if I find a skin that's really cool, then yeah, I'm probably going to buy it.
Okay.
But now there's another type of microtransaction, and this is kind of where a lot of people start.
Pay to win.
Yeah, pay to win. I have kind of my own little category. I would say pay to start.
Okay.
So, for example, you have a free-to-play. So the first game that comes to mind to me is like Warframe. Have you ever played Warframe?
Yeah, I've played it.
Yeah. So in that game, it's free to play. You start off, you pick whatever starting weapon and stuff that you have. And so you might say, you know what, I will spend $20 to buy this warframe or this character with this weapon that I use, but then you're still kind of stuck using it. Now, you have access to everything that the game has to offer, but the grind is severe in order to get there. And I think that's where they get you. You can either choose to grind for hours upon hours,
or you can pay,
or you can just
skip
spend
the
a couple of bucks.
It's just a paywall. And they do the same thing. They did it with Battlefront 2. This was a huge issue that people had in the newest Battlefront.
That's what I've heard, that EA has a big problem.
They're bad.
Yeah.
So what they did is they locked Darth Vader, playing as Darth Vader, behind, I can't even remember what the number was. It's like if you wanted him day one, you were going to have to spend thousands of dollars. Or you have to play the game every day for like months. And it's like, by the time that comes around, do you really care about playing Darth Vader anymore? Like, I just think that
I could see where that's frustrating.
That's kind of annoying. And the problem is you could buy it. So they're like, well, it's available. And then people would, the whales, as they call them, would go buy that kind of stuff. Same thing happened with Diablo Immortal that just came out. It's a free-to-play game, but then they put these things in front of you where it's like this one currency you cannot get, period, in the game. You have to pay for it. And so then people go spend money so they can have more fun playing the game. And it's like, I get it to a point. In a free-to-play game, they have to recoup their money in some way. But a cosmetic shop would do that just on a lower level. And the problem is that since people will pay it, it will always continue to happen.
Yeah, that is another thing I find frustrating about the microtransactions, especially kind of they call it pay to win. I think that some people would even call it pay to play in a way.
No, pay to play is a subscription.
No, I know that's what pay to play means. But what I mean is, like, you have a game where you don't have access to all of the content the game has to offer unless you pay for it. So, for example, you're barred from using a certain type of currency, like you just said, unless you give money to the game. So, kind of the way that I break that down is that for the most part, you can spend $60 to $70 to just buy a normal game that's like on our shelf, and you can play all the content of the game for that amount of money. But you take a game like that, say like Warframe or Battlefront. I have another example, Crossout. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
No.
It's a free-to-play game where you basically build a car with all these different weapons, and you build it from scratch. Every single piece and component you build, but you can either grind your way up to earn all the parts you need, or you can just buy. It's.
I think at the end of the day, like, my biggest takeaway is it's greedy.
Okay, no, I get that. But here's the way that I see it, is that if you can spend $60 to $70 in a microtransaction game and it doesn't even scratch the surface to the amount of content the game has available, then that kind of sucks, because then you're actually spending more money for a game that's supposed to be free rather than just buying.
And if you only paid $60 to $70 and you could get access to the entire game. This is why I have no issue with DLC, with paid DLC. I don't mind.
I don't have an issue with it either.
Introduce more stuff to the game, charge me $10-$20, whatever. It's like, if I want to play it, I'll play it. You'll make your money. The problem is greed. They want it to continue forever, perpetually. That's games like Battlefront, where it's like, you can buy the game. First of all, you have to buy it. And then if you want to get extra stuff, if you want to gamble your money away, your real money, you can gamble for a chance. And that's another thing. Gambling for a chance is way worse than just buying the thing outright.
That's pretty prominent in mobile games, I think, too.
Yeah, you're paying for a chance. You're not even paying for the thing, you're paying for a chance at it.
Yeah. No, those are all very good points. Just to kind of mention the DLC. Actually, no, I'm not going to mention the DLC thing, because I think we all agree on that. There's really no problem there.
Yeah.
But you talk about how you have these developers that basically give you all the stuff that you have to buy, and they're doing it to extend the life of the game.
Of course. To extend their pockets.
Right.
Really.
Well, but it makes sense, though, too, because a game like that, there's a capitalist element to it, right? A video game is a product comes from a company, and a company has to make money. They have to make money somehow. And if they're trying to extend the longevity of their game, and if they have a player base that is continuing to fund their game, then it's kind of a win-win for everybody, even though everybody's kind of spending their money on stuff they don't need, and the developers make a good profit off of it, but a lot of that money probably goes to continue to develop the game.
Potentially. I mean, look at a game though like God of War 2018.
Mm-hmm.
That game was released in full with no DLC, no downloadable DLC. The game was released as a full version. They did later on release the New Game Plus, but there was no cost. So the entire game was there for the player on day one, and it was well done, which is another thing that does not happen nowadays. A lot of times games get released when they're not finished. But this is a done game,
That's true.
and it's one of the best-selling games that Sony has ever had. And partly it might have to do with the fact that there was this big stigma against microtransactions at the time that it released. But also I just think like you give the player the whole experience, they're going to enjoy it, they're going to come back, they're going to become a fan of the series, and now they're making a second game where they're doing the exact same thing. There's going to be no microtransactions. And then you compare it to another game like the ones that you've been mentioning or that I've been mentioning, like Battlefront, Warframe, that stuff, they'll last longer, but they're not putting... I feel like they're not putting as much content in the game for how much money they're making. They're making way more money.
Yeah, but they're also smaller tier developers too, though.
Potentially, but I mean, they're making way more money.
Resources to basically fund a AAA game like God of War,
but
to keep themselves above water.
EA is, but
yeah,
I guess, and I don't even know who Warframe is owned by at this point. But I bet you anything they're owned by a AAA company because they're so big. They probably went and sold at some point. I don't know, but
yeah,
I think you look at that and it's like it's a cash grab. I feel like it's really just a cash grab. Now you look at like World of Warcraft, one of my favorite games. You can pay microtransaction fees. One thing I do like about that is that it's not random. What you pay for is what you get. You can pay for a boost.
Yeah, but there's a lot of microtransaction games though that are like that.
Right, and that is less bad. But the gambling ones are the worst ones because those are the ones that will keep you coming back to spend the money because you want the one thing that might have a 1% chance to drop out of that box that you're going to get.
Yeah, I agree.
Where I get it with World of Warcraft, you can buy a boost, a level boost for a character. And yeah, people don't like that. And yeah, it does help you get to the end game faster. But does it actually kill your wallet on a consistent basis? I would almost argue that in a way, like if you've already leveled a character, it makes your experience more fun.
You accuse the developers of cash grabbing, but would not Blizzard be kind of in that category of World of Warcraft? I mean, you're having to pay a subscription.
I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying it's not as bad as the ones that do
Blizzard
the gambling
has a subscription and a microtransaction element to it. That's awfully cash grabby.
It is, but then you go look at Diablo, which is also a Blizzard game, and they're way, way worse because it's all loot boxes. And I'm not saying that it's okay in any game. I don't like it at all. It's less bad in a game like World of Warcraft, but people have a lot of hate on it. And it's like, well, if those people would just look at the other games and say, well, I guess it's not as bad as this. I mean, man, imagine if you wanted to get a level boost and you had to pay $9.99 and you might get a level boost, but you also might get 100 gold or something like that. I mean, it's just...
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you on the RNG factor of microtransactions. You know
that's
how
the
I
worst
feel
part
about
of it.
RNGs.
Yeah, we definitely do.
Okay. So here's my ace in the whole argument.
Yeah, I was going to say, change my mind.
Yeah.
Do it.
The reason why I like microtransactions is because I like video games.
Well, duh.
A lot of video games, it seems like, especially when you and I are growing up, are a lot of kind of AAA type games where you have these very talented developers that produce a game. Everybody loves it. They produce another game. Everybody loves it. And there's a few companies that do that. By introducing the microtransaction element to gaming, it allows the opportunity for
more games,
but also more talent. Like you might have somebody that just comes out of college or whatever that learns how to do programming and game design. They might not have the resources or have the competitive edge to earn their way onto a team for some AAA developer, so they get together with other people of their caliber, and it basically creates another tier of gaming that allows an entry-level career opportunity for people who want to develop games.
And I will say that those existed before, but I understand your point is that a lot of them would go under, or they wouldn't make enough money to sustain and make a new game. And so I get that point.
Yeah, but like what happens if Marshall goes to video game school, and then you come out of video game school and you're looking for a job and you want to go work for like Blizzard or something, and like they're not hiring and none of the big guys are hiring. Everybody's making video games.
Right.
So you say, okay, I'm going to go to a smaller guy, try to gain the experience as a developer, and then maybe one day throughout your career you work your way up and climb that ladder. Basically what it does is it creates lower rungs of the ladder.
I would say
for people to develop games.
I would say those rungs already existed.
No.
Just that some of those pop off and make millions upon millions of dollars, and so then you don't even need to leave because
those rungs didn't. I mean, they've existed for a while, yes.
Well,
but
I
think because of microtransactions, there's a lot more variety, creativity. There's a lot more games for a lot more people that are out there because microtransactions exist. If everything that we did in gaming revolved around hard copy one-time purchases or even adding DLCs to it, the gaming industry would not be what it is today. There is so much money that's fueling the gaming industry, and microtransactions, whether you like it in practice or not, is a humongous element to the success of the gaming industry today. Like, I mean, you might have to like follow a paper trail or something like that, but you might have a AAA game that came out that might not actually have existed if it wasn't for the fact that there was microtransactions in lower quality games that led up to the talent that worked their way up the ladder to create the AAA game
That's
that
fair.
you do love.
I mean, that rationale is fair and it makes sense, but it doesn't make me think that they are a good thing, and it will never make me go spend a bunch of my money on them.
I'm not saying that you should spend all your money on them,
Money.
The point of the Blank or No series, maybe at least for this one, is should microtransactions be a thing? Yes or no?
Sure, let's say that. I do think they should be a thing because, like you said, it does help the industry in general. But I think there should be a point that it stops, and I think it should be loot boxes.
Well, there is a point that it
No,
stops.
I think loot boxes is where it should stop. There should not be random loot box. It's gambling. That's why it's been outlawed in multiple countries. I think that should not exist. I don't mind that Blizzard wants to go make...
A lot of the countries that develop video games besides the U.S. have... I don't know what their gambling laws are, but a lot of them have that gambling sort of aspect to their microtransactions. I think you could find a game from like almost any country. America, Japan...
I'm not talking about where it's developed.
Germany.
I'm saying there
Sweden,
are multiple.
all of them.
There are multiple countries who have outlawed microtransactions in games, meaning that the developer who made the game, wherever they are in the world, they had to roll back that feature out of their games to continue to sell it in that country.
I've played a lot of games from a lot of different countries, and because I do play mobile games, and I feel like a lot of mobile games these days, especially, come from other countries. I have not seen a rollback in gambling style microtransactions at all. If you want to have a debate about gambling, I mean, I would probably agree with you more or less on it.
I can look it up. There's at least 3 countries that banned it when Battlefront 2 came out.
Are you saying that they banned
They banned the loot boxes. They straight up said to EA, if you want to sell this game in our country, you can't have it.
But for the consumer though.
For the consumer.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I mean. So they had to roll it back. That feature had to be turned off on their game in those countries.
Okay, but when it comes to yes or no for the Blank or No series, though, you have to take everything into account as it exists today.
Right,
microtransactions.
But your point was that should they be allowed? Yes, I think they should be allowed, but they should not be allowed to be doing any of the gambling stuff that exists. No loot boxes, anything like that, where you're getting random. You're paying real money and getting something random in return that may not benefit you at all, that you may then have to spend hundreds upon hundreds of dollars to get what you actually want. I do not think that that should exist.
Okay, but here's the question, though. Would you prefer if microtransactions were to exist as they are today with the gambling loot boxes, or
not exist at all?
Not at all.
I mean, I don't use them, so...
In principle.
I don't use them so they can exist.
Do you think that there's a benefit to the gaming industry that they exist in
yes,
the form that
there is, but there's a massive disadvantage given to the consumer.
Okay, so, I mean, it sounds like I kind of was right.
I already felt this way. We could have had the conversation. I would have felt this way already.
Yeah, but you said no, though.
Well, I still believe that they are bad.
If when our wonderful editor Eric goes and edits this video and he puts the little thumbs up or thumbs down, the little Marshall says yes and Shawn says yes thing, you're going to have to give an answer, and all those things are going to have to be considered. So if we're saying microtransactions or no, what are we saying yes or no to?
Maybe he can do a neutral thumb for me.
Gosh, you have no principle. No,
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
no backbone. You can't say yes or no to anything without some sort of a little caveat. Right?
No, not right. I'll say no. The question was, do we think they belong in games? No, I do not think that they belong in games. Do you add something saying, does it make the gaming industry better? Yes, it does. You added something. I didn't add anything.
You added your own thing already though. Does it belong in games?
That was the question.
No, the question is technically microtransactions or no. It's up to us to frame the question however we want.
You know.
Basically, I think the most raw and simple form of the question is, should should microtransactions exist or not? I think that's the most baseline way of asking the question.
Sure. Do I like them? No. Do I think they should exist? Yes.
Yes. So we agree. I was right.
Barely. No,
Thank you so
you were
much
not
for,
right. No.
for sticking with us as Marshall had his mind changed as I so correctly predicted. Like I say, most of my opinions aren't in fact opinions. They're just objective fact. And so I'd like to thank you guys for joining us in that demonstration today.
You're full of crap. No, that's ridiculous.
But I think that we'll go ahead and just leave it there and let you guys decide. Not decide.
They're not even going to agree with me.
What do you mean?
They're definitely not going to agree with you.
Well, let us know what your either correct or incorrect opinions are. Let us know in the comment section what you think about this topic. Like I said, it's contentious. We know it's contentious, especially for everybody in the gaming community. But I feel pretty confident on this one. So
Sure.
until then, thank you for joining us. And we'll see you next time on the Philosophy of Gaming.